Yeah, okay. So let me give you the agenda for today. So firstly, it's raining heavily over here. So if at all there's any disturbance, please let me know that you're not able to hear. I'll again repeat again, not an issue. So second, what is the agenda for today? So we still have two chapters left in our law revision classes. One is Sale of Goods Act and the other one is LLP. Sale of Goods Act, in textbook you have Unit 1 to Unit 4. Today we will be discussing Unit 1 and Unit 2. So let's quickly get started with Unit 1 and Unit 2. I'll present the questions. You can start going through the true or false questions first. So take 2 minutes time for true or false questions. Can we start discussing the questions, guys? Or do you need another minute? So can I have, I'll unmute somebody, just 1 second. Anybody who wants to read the questions, let's Jay Sheila, are you there in the class? Can I unmute you? Jay Sheila, Harshal, Rakshita. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, Rakshita, I've unmuted you. You can read the questions. Yes.
Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first question. The consideration for the contract of sale can be partly in money and partly in goods.
Answer.
False.
Others, guys, you can type your answer. So the answer is false. Okay, go to the next question, Rakshita. Read the next question. Yeah. Why did I mute you again? Rakshita, you can stay on unmute. I've unmuted you again. You can read all the 10 questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Second question.
Okay, sir. In a contract of sale by description and by sample, the bulk of goods must correspond to either description or sample.
Answer.
True.
So here they're saying in a contract of sale by description and sample. So I'm giving you a sample and also giving you description of how the main goods will look. The bulk of the goods must correspond to either description or sample. Is it either description of sample? It is
No,
correspond
both
to both. So answer
description.
is
False.
statement is false. Third one.
The subject matter of contract of sale can be both movable or immovable.
Answer.
False.
Very simple. Subject matter of contract of sale must be only movable goods. We are in Sale of Goods Act. Definition of goods says it's only movable goods, does not include immovable goods. So first three are false. Go to the fourth one.
Where the price is not determined in any manner, the buyer may pay the seller the market price of the goods. True.
The price is not determined in any manner. The buyer may pay the market price of the goods. Answer is false. If you read the provisions, the wordings they use is the buyer may pay. The wordings they use is reasonable price. Now,
Okay, sir.
reasonable price can be market price also. See, reasonable price obviously will be market price, but the wordings they use is reasonable price. So answer for this is false. Next.
Okay. The implied condition as to merchantable quality applies to goods whether or not the buyer has examined the goods. Sir,
Answer.
I understand the question.
Okay, what they're saying here is the implied. See, one of the we have totally 8 implied conditions. One of the implied conditions says goods should be of merchantable quality. First, understand what is merchantable quality. Goods should be usable. It should be in good quality. Now they're saying applies to goods whether or not buyer has examined the goods. They're saying whether you examine or not, it should be in merchantable quality. True or false?
False.
Answer is false. See, merchantable quality is applicable where you at least the buyer should do a reasonable examination. The principle of caveat emptor, he has to do a reasonable examination. See, when you go to, for example, I'll give you a simple example, guys. Let's say you go to a small shop near your house. You are giving 10 rupees for buying a pen. You are giving 10 rupees for buying a pen. What is the basic check you have to do? Basic check you have to do is you will write and see if the pen is writing. Then you will go home. Here they're saying the implied condition of merchantable quality is applicable even if you don't check the pen. No, as a buyer you have to do ordinary examination. After that, if the pen is not in good condition after going home, then you can tell pen is not in good condition, then you can sue them. So answer is false. So answer to question number A to E, all the 5 are false. Am I audible clearly, guys? Any issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead to 6 to F to J, Akshita.
Yeah. Parties to a contract of sale can get the price fixed by the third parties. True.
True, very true. See, if you are not able to fix the price, you can ask a third party to fix the price. Okay, next one.
A contract of sale can be conditional or absolute. True.
Answer. So, sale, contract of sale can be
True.
both conditional or absolute. Absolute means it's sale, conditional means agreement to sell. So, answer is true. Next one.
A seller need not disclose the defect of his goods to the buyer before sale. False.
No, what they're saying here is, let's take a simple example. Let's say you're going to, again, let's say you're going to buy a pen. Let's say a seller has 100 pens. He has kept all the 100 pens and he knows out of these 100 pens, 5 pens are not writing properly. So he kept the pens in the shop. You took a pen for you took a pen for purchasing, you paid the bill and you left. You did not check if it's proper. So here they're saying a seller need not disclose the defect of his goods to the buyer. Obviously, seller will not disclose the defect to buyer. Buyer should properly examine the goods. But however, the defect, it should be in such a way that you can easily find it out in the starting itself. So answer for question number H is also true only, not false. Seller need not disclose the defect. Buyer should be able to identify the defect. However, if he is, another extra point over here, if the seller is, let's say, concealing the defect by fraud, intentionally hiding the defect, even after you ask, then it becomes case of fraud, then seller will be liable. Go to the next question, Raksha.
A breach of warranty can be treated as a breach of condition in some cases. False.
Others answers, guys. A breach of warranty can be treated as breach of condition in some cases. The answer is other way around. A breach of condition, sorry, a breach of condition only can be treated as breach of warranty in some cases. So answer is false. Next.
Warranty and conditions can be implied only. False.
False, very, very simple. Warranty and conditions can be both implied or express. Left to the, it will be both. So till here, any doubts, guys? Any doubts? Anybody, you can raise your hand. I'll give you all minute. There's one doubt. If the goods are brought from a place which isn't reachable and examination is not possible, see, if examination is not possible, then obviously goods have to be merchantable. The minute you receive the goods, you will do the check. Simple. Like online stores, you can't check immediately. After it comes home only, you will check. And that is why you see all this Flipkart and Amazon. What is the main reason they're giving you 10 days or 30 days replacement guarantee? Because you are not able to examine the goods. Once you get the goods, they're giving you reasonable time, 10 days to use the good. If it's perfect, then fine. Otherwise, you can replace, get the full refund. That is the concept of refund concept. Any doubts till here,
Okay,
guys?
sir.
Who was in the class?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Sir, actually, in the group that day for the max class, there was a link, sir. But sorry, there was a notification that class will be held, but we did not receive any link, sir.
For Sunday, no, the class was held.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you for maths class, totally, the plan was to solve May 20 and November 20
Okay.
questions, mock test questions. In May 20
Okay.
mock test paper, 75 questions have been solved on last Sunday's class. The recording also is there in the channel. You can check that out. And
Okay.
next
Okay,
class
sir.
should be this weekend, but we are still deciding because strength is very low and obviously exams are postponed. So next class we will solve the balance 25 mock test paper questions in May 20 mock test paper, and the November 20 released on October 11th. If you've all seen 100 questions in ICA website, that also we will be solving, but we're just thinking whether this week or sometime in November when you are getting more serious. So
Okay, sir.
okay. Now we'll go to the next set of questions. Anybody else who wants to read now? Rakshita is fine. Somebody else, anybody else who wants to voluntarily read, or I'll choose somebody. Feel free to ask your doubts, guys. Actually, I can unmute all of you. Just 1 second. Yeah, I'm unmuting everybody. Whenever you want, you can unmute and read, talk now. So not an issue, but stay on mute. Yeah, Jay Sheila is there. Jay Sheila, yeah, you can unmute and
Yeah, okay.
now you can unmute
Mr.
yourself, guys. But just ensure that only when you're talking, you unmute, and again you mute yourself. I will remove the restriction. Yeah, go ahead, Jay Sheila.
Miss Amit was shopping in a self-service supermarket. He picked up a bottle of cool drink from a shelf. While he was examining the bottle, it exploded in his hand and injured him. He filed a suit for damages against the owner of the market on the ground of breach of condition. Decide under the Sale of Goods Act 1930 whether Amit could succeed in his claim.
Yeah, so take a minute time, guys. Go through the question. So simple, guys. We will finish all the 13 questions. Then again, I'll spend 15-20 minutes for your doubts. So don't worry about all of that. Doubts also, I will take it. Yeah. So second one, take a minute, go through. I'm getting answers also. I think chart also, I can keep it open now. Chart is already open. So try to be more interactive, guys. Only 10 of you are there. So it's good. You can interact with each other and you can type your answers. Second one answer, guys. Soumya has given answer yes. Amit would succeed, others. Answer for second, okay. I think there's enough time. So very simple, guys. See, Amit was shopping in a self-service supermarket. Now, what do you mean by self-service supermarket? You will go and pick up yourself and you will do the billing and leave. So he picked up a bottle of cold drink from one of the shelves. While he was examining the bottle, what do you do in supermarket generally? All of you would definitely visit a supermarket at least once. You will take the product, you will read what is there, you will see the expiry, you will see the price, you will go through the contents before you put it in the basket for purchase, correct? So he was examining the bottle, it exploded in his hand and injured him. He files for a suit for damages for the owner. Will Amit succeed in his claim? Answer is very much yes. First, a product should be both implied condition, whether a supermarket is mentioning or not, it should be merchantable and it should be wholesome also. Wholesome meaning it should be consumable. Now, if a product is dangerous, if it is dangerous and if it is not safe, then obviously supermarket should take responsibility for that. It is an implied condition and hence Amit will succeed in his claim. This is answer for question number 2. Next question. Anybody can unmute and read, guys. Come on. I don't have to tell now. Harshal, Jaishila, Kriti, Ronak, anyone. Yes. Okay, let me pick. Harshal, can you unmute and read? Sure, is not there. Okay, Ronak, can you read the third question?
Yes, sir. I'm reading, sir.
Yeah.
Classify the following transactions according to the types of goods they are. A wholesaler of cotton has 1,000 bales in his godown. He agrees to sell 50 bales, and these bales were selected and set aside. B. A agrees to sell to B 1 packet of salt out of the lot of 100 packets lying in the shop. 3. T agrees to sell to S all the oranges which will be produced in his garden this year.
So take a minute time, guys, go through it and you can unmute by yourself, guys. It will work now. I've changed the setting again. I just checked. So there's no restriction anymore. Yeah, Harshal is on mute, but now you can unmute Harshal. I think I just changed it. You can unmute now. So not an issue. Next question you can read. Yeah, go through question number 3, guys. We'll discuss in a minute. Please go through question number 3. Answer, guys. Very simple one. Anybody who wants to give me the answer?
For first one, specific goods, I think so.
First one, see, there are totally a wholesaler of cotton has 100 bales in his godown. He agrees to sell 50 bales and these bales were selected and set aside. It was separately kept aside. So this entire 100 bales will be unascertained goods. Out of this entire 100 bales, he has selected and kept 50 separately. This 50 will become ascertained goods. That's all. So one part is ascertained, one part is unascertained goods. Understood the first part, guys? Okay, next. A agrees to sell to B a packet of salt out of the lot of 100 packets lying in a shop. So, see, when you go to a shop, guys, when you're going to buy, let's say Maggi, you want to go to buy Maggi, you go to a supermarket. They'll have hundreds of Maggis in a box or in the shelf. You will randomly take one. This entire 100 Maggis will be called unascertained goods. From that, you're randomly taking one packet. Here is taking one salt packet instead of Maggi packet. So entire 100 units will be unascertained. And third one.
Third one, it's future goods.
Correct. Very good answer. T agrees to sell to T agrees to sell to S all the oranges which will be produced in his garden this year. So goods are not yet produced. So this will be future goods. Plus, is this sale or agreement to sell? It will be agreement to sell. Understood, guys? Any doubts before I proceed? Feel free to ask your doubts, guys. Don't worry. We're only 10 of us. Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Could you come back to the first question? I'm sorry.
Question number 1, is it true or false?
Yes, sir.
Which question on that?
I actually came now, so if that's fine, could you like repeat that?
I'll give you the answers. in the recording towards the end, if you have any doubts, we'll discuss. Okay. So the answer
Okay, sir.
for A to E is false.
Okay.
F and G, one second. F, G and H are true. I and J are false. So you can go through them at your end. End of the class, we can discuss the doubts. Don't worry. I'll
Okay,
give you
sir.
recording also. Okay. Yeah. So next question is fairly simple, guys. Distinguish between a condition and a warranty in a contract of sale. Distinguish between condition and warranty in a contract of sale. Textbook, there's a small table. Even if you don't know the table, if you know the concept, guys, you can easily write the differences. Then when shall a breach of condition be treated as breach of warranty? We have 4 points for that. 2 under voluntary, 2 under compulsory. Straight away textbook copy paste question. This can come for anywhere between 4 to 6 marks, but ideally it will be a 4 marks question. Straightforward question. Let me proceed to next question. Okay. Can I have someone to read, guys? Yeah, Jai Sheila, go ahead.
For the purpose of making uniform for the employees, Mr. Yadav bought a dark blue colored cloth from Vivek, but did not disclose to the seller the purpose of said purchase. When the uniform were prepared and used by the employee, the cloth was found unfit. However, there was evidence that the cloth was fit for cap, boots, and the carriage lining. Advise Mr. Yadav whether he is entitled to have a remedy under the Sale of Goods Act 1930.
So take a minute time, guys. Please go through the question. You can give me the answer. Answer, guys. Soumya is giving the answer saying Yadav cannot sue others. Very simple. Yes, Yadav cannot sue. Now here they're testing the concept of implied condition. Under implied condition, they're testing the thing quality or fitness of goods. Quality or fitness of goods. So here if you see quality or fitness, for the purpose of making uniform for the employees, Mr. Yadav bought dark blue colored cloth from Vivek. So he didn't buy uniform, guys. If you remember, if you go to the showroom, Raymond showroom or Mothershore or any showroom, you can just material you will buy. So he's buying material, cloth from Vivek, but did not disclose to the seller. Let's assume Raymond or any seller for the purpose of the set purchase. So basically what is happening, assume you go to a shop and you just saying you want to buy 1 meter, 2 meter, 100 meters of cloth. You are telling I want dark blue color. He gave you 100 meters of cloth, you purchased it, but you didn't tell for what purpose you want. He also did not tell for what purpose his cloth can be used. Then when the uniforms were prepared and used by employees, the cloth was found unfit. That is, this is not comfortable for wearing clothes. It is only comfortable for caps, boots or carriage lining. State whether Yadav is entitled for any remedy. Answer is very no. Quality or fitness, the condition of quality or fitness will be eligible only if the buyer, who is the buyer here, Yadav, clearly specifies to the seller for what purpose he is buying this good. For example, textbook, there's an example. You are buying water bottle to store hot water. Then he gave you a water bottle. You specifically told to the seller, I am telling the seller I want a water bottle which can store hot water. He gave you a bottle. Once you poured hot water, the bottle blasted or water did not, bottle melted or something. Then you can sue because I am specifically mentioning I want water bottle for storing hot water. Simplest example. All of you would have gone to a shop and you would have asked the shopkeeper, please give me one pen and one notebook. If you don't tell him anything, he will give you any random blue or black pen and any ruled or unruled notebook. Then you cannot sue him later saying, why did you give me ruled notebook? I want unruled notebook. You should specify. If you don't specify the quality or fitness of the product, then shopkeeper will give what he has only. Clear, guys? Understood question number 5? Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tej, can you read question number 6?
Could you scroll down a little down?
Yeah, sure. I think the question is complete anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. State whether the following would amount the seller or agreement to sale. First one, X entered into a contract for sale of entire crop of rice that would yield on his farm. Should I continue or you?
Yeah, read all the 4 questions and I'll give you time.
A railway administration entered into a contract for sale of coal ash that might accumulate during the period of contract. Third one, X entered into a contract for sale of some goods in a particular ship to be delivered on arrival of the ship. Okay, I can't see the fifth one actually.
There are only 4 questions. Yeah, only 4 questions.
Sorry, I can't see the fourth one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, X entered into a contract for sale of a painting only if Z, its present owner, sells it to him.
Take a minute time, go through.
So the first one is agreement to sell.
Yeah, so let's discuss the answers one by one. X entered into a contract for sale for entire crop of rice that would yield on his farm. X entered into a contract of sale for entire crop would yield on his farm. So it's a future good plus agreement to sell. Next one. Second one, go. Yeah, contract to sell. Sorry, contract to sell. Second one, a railway administration entered into a contract for sale for coal ash that might accumulate during the period of contract. Again, it's a future contract plus contract to sale, agreement to sell. It is an agreement to sell. We're only disclosing which a contract of sale or agreement to sell. Next, third one, X entered into a contract of sale for some goods in a particular ship to be delivered on the arrival of the ship. So it is not delivered immediately. Again, it is delivered at a future date. Therefore, again, it becomes agreement to sell. Fourth one, X entered into a contract for sale for painting only if Z, its present owner, sells it to him. So only if he's able to buy it from Z, he will sell it to you. So it becomes a contingent good. Contingent good plus again agreement to sell because you're not selling it today. Understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Next question. Can I have somebody else to read the next question?
I'll read.
Yeah.
Okay. State whether the following transactions are contract of sale under the Sale of Goods Act. Someone wants to read. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, somebody else. Others, who's there? Somebody else. Harshal or Pratham or Soumya, who's not read so far. Yeah, Kriti, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Is my voice audible, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Question number 7. State whether the following are contract of sale under the Sale of Good Act. A. X agreed to buy a painting from an artist. B. Mr. Ronak offered to sell 10,000 shares of Reliance to Komal. C. Mr. Janak had asked his tailor to stitch a new school uniform for him, and the tailor already had the material for the school uniform because he was authorized by the school. D. X sold his old coin and note collection to Y. E. Mr. B sold the goodwill of his partnership business for rupees 1 lakh to A.
Yeah, so take a minute time, guys. Go through. You just have to tell if this is a contract of sale covered under the Sale of Goods Act or not covered under Sale of Goods Act. Simple. See, first thing, let me give you a clarity. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so all the five, see, all the five is a contract covered under Indian Contract Act, no doubt. It is all the five are covered under Indian Contract Act as a contract. Now we have to check if these five are a contract as per Sale of Goods Act, yes or no. So take a minute time, go through.
For A and B, it's a contract of sale.
Okay, who is reading 1 second? Jay Sheila. Okay, we'll go one by one, Jay Sheila. So first one,
It's contract of
buy
sale.
a painting from an artist. So it's a contract of sale. So very simple, guys. Remember in the textbook and in the video I discussed essential elements for contract of sale. There should be two or more parties. Subject matter should be movable goods. Price should be paid in money. All those points, those 5-6 points you have to check. First thing, A agreed to buy a painting from an artist. Answer is yes. See, painting is a movable good. Contract of sale, very simple. Second one, Ronak offered to sell 10,000 shares of Reliance to Komal. Is this contract of sale? Very much yes. It comes under a contract of sale because 10,000 shares, first you have to check, is this a good as per Sale of Goods Act? Yes, it is a good. Definition of goods include what? Shares. Therefore, it is a contract of sale. Painting is also a good under Sale of Goods definition. So it is a contract of sale. So A and B both are yes. Third one, Mr. Janak had asked his tailor to stitch a new school uniform for him, and the tailor already had the material for the school uniform because he was authorized by the school. So what is happening? You are going to your tailor for stitching school uniform for you. You are paying him, let's say, 2,000 rupees for 2 sets of uniform. He is stitching and giving it to you. Is this a contract of sale? Is this covered under Sale of Goods Act? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's under cover under a sale of good.
Anybody else? Others answers? You can type or you can also talk, guys. Anything is fine. Answer no. Follow very carefully. He has asked this tailor to stitch a new school uniform. Now, very simple. You go to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant. Now, I want a simple answer from you guys. It might be a little tricky and it is meant to be tricky also. You go to a restaurant. Let's say you go to Pizza Hut or Domino's Pizza and you're paying rupees 500 rupees for a pizza. I want an answer from you guys. Is this purchase of goods or purchase of service? Is this goods or service?
So this is service, sir.
No, I'm asking a restaurant example. This one is service, correct? Stitching is service,
Okay.
but the restaurant you're going and eating food. Is that a service or is that purchase of food?
Purchase of goods, I guess.
See, if it's takeaway, like say home delivery, then you can say I'm purchasing of food. But when you go to a normal good restaurant where there's good service, good ambience, and you're paying money, is it service or is it goods?
It's a service.
It's both, no, sir.
Okay, so answer is it is both. It is both. If you remember, guys, very carefully, before GST came, before GST, like pre-GST period, how many, I don't know if you noticed in the bill, restaurant bills, if you had gone, like see GST came only in the last 3-4 years. So basically before 2015-14, many of you might have gone to restaurant, but if you had seen in the bill would have had two components. One is VAT, it would have also had service tax. It will have both. But now all that is not there. Even another example, construction of a building. If you ask construction of a building, is it goods or is it service? It is both, because you're buying bricks, buying cement, buying sand, and also there's element of labor involved.
Labors, yeah.
So here if you see, Janak asked this tailor to stitch a new school uniform. So here the contract is between Janak and the tailor, and essentially the main work here is service. Service dominates the goods. Tailor already had the material. If you had supplied the material to him, then it might be a different case. But here he already had the material, and you are mainly paying for the service. When you go for a haircut, it's a service. So here it is not covered under Sale of Goods Act. So answer 1 and 2, yes. Answer 3, no. Any doubts till here, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Next one. X sold his old coins and notes collection to Y. Is this covered?
It's not a contract.
Answer is very much yes. Old notes and coins. What do you mean by this? The old 500 rupees note or the old 10 rupees note from 1900s. Or see, if any of you is collecting coins and notes or stamps, you will be having your old collection, old notes and all of that. It's a very valuable collection. He is selling his collection to Y. So here the question is, are there two parties? Yes. Is subject matter goods? You have to check if old notes and coins falls in the definition of goods. Very much yes. Now, when you read goods definition, it says excluding money, correct? Now, my simple question, the old 500 rupees note and on the old 1000 rupees note, old 500 and old 1000 rupees note, even if you have 1 lakh worth of it today, does it have value? Can you buy anything from 1 rupee chocolate also? No, you can't
No,
buy.
sir.
Same way, if you have 1800s or 1700s East India Company notes and coins, today if you go to a restaurant, you cannot buy anything from it. But if you sell to somebody who's interested in collection, he might actually pay you for a 10 rupees good quality note or a 100 rupees note of East India Company period. Today its value will be 10,000 rupees. That is how much people pay for it. Therefore, it is very much sale of goods. Answer D also is yes. All these I explained in the video also, guys. Those who have seen it will know. Those who have not seen also, it's fine. To the extent possible, I'm discussing. The class are combination of recorded videos plus live. So try to watch both. Again, guys, normally a concept, these topics I'll take for 2 to 3 hours minimum, 1 unit in class. But since it's a crash course and exam oriented, I'm just going fast and trying to keep it as summary as possible. Next one. Mr. B sold the goodwill of his partnership business for rupees 1 lakh to Mr. A. Is this covered under Sale of Goods Act? Yes or no? Answer, guys. 7E.
It's covered under Sale of Good Act.
Good. It is covered. See, again, here you might think, is goodwill a good? The only question you will get in your head is goodwill a good? Definition of goods includes all movable property. Very simple. Goodwill is a good. As per the definition, it is a good because goods definition excluding only three things. It is excluding actionable claim. It is excluding money in circulation. It is excluding immovable property indirectly because goods means other than immovable property. It says clearly movable property. Goodwill, it is not an immovable property. It is not money. It is not actionable claim. Therefore, it can be bought and sold. Therefore, it is movable property covered under your Sale of Goods Act. So we are done with question number 7. Can somebody read the next question for me? Harshal or anyone else?
X entered into a contract for the sale of 100 bags of wheat out of 100 bags lying in his godown. Unknown to X, the entire stock was destroyed by fire. X declined to deliver. State the legal position.
So take a minute time, guys. Give me the answer. Answer, guys. Now here, what is happening is X entered into a contract. So contract has already entered for sale of 100 bags of wheat out of the 1000 bags lying in his godown. Unknown to X, after entering into the contract, the entire stock, that means 1000 bags, was destroyed by fire. X declined to deliver, state the legal position. Here the question relates to section 7, which says what happens where subject matter of goods are destroyed after entering into a contract without excess without excess knowledge. Now contract becomes void and contract can be avoided. Very important point. Only if such goods are ascertained or specific goods. Only if such goods are ascertained or specific goods. Here, this 1000 bags are unascertained goods and therefore contract cannot be avoided. He has to make payment for those goods. Next. Question number 9. Can I have somebody else? If you have any doubts, please stop me, guys. Don't worry about that. Next. Question number 9.
Mr. Gaurav went to the iPhone store to purchase iPhone 12. He purchased the same by paying rupees 80,000 and returned home to gift the same to his sister, Mrs. Kushi. Kushi, after opening the box, found out that the glass had a small crack. Upon returning to the store owner claimed that the buyer should have checked if the phone was working in the shop itself and did not accept any claim. Will Mr. Gaurav succeed if he files a suit?
Take a minute time, guys. Understand and then give me the answer. Answer, guys. So I'm getting answers. Kushi is saying he will succeed. Kriti also says he will succeed. So answer is he will succeed. Obviously, yes, he will succeed. But what is the concept here? Again, see what is happening here is they're saying the buyer, the seller, the iPhone store guy is saying Gaurav should have examined the goods. Ordinarily, he has to examine the goods. Buyer should be ordinarily diligent. Caveat emptor, he has to be responsible. He cannot blindly buy the goods and then go home and check. But however, one of the exceptions of caveat emptor, if you see, purchased under a brand name or patent. If you remember the point, purchased under a brand name or patent. Let's say tomorrow you go to Adidas showroom or Nike showroom and you buy a shoe or any product from there. You are used to buying over there and you know the product of Adidas and Nike or iPhone, Apple will be very good. So obviously what you will do, you will pay the money. Now, for example, you want to buy OnePlus 70 or OnePlus 80 new launch. You will go to the OnePlus store, pay 50,000, buy the phone and come home, correct? Will you check and open over there if it's working? Obviously not, because you know when you purchase branded products, they will work properly. So in these cases, the seller cannot tell, caveat emptor, you have to reasonably examine the product in the shop itself. No exception. Goods sold under brand name or patent name, buyer Gaurav has the right to sue the seller over here. Even if buyer did not check, very important, guys. See, caveat emptor says buyer has to reasonably check the goods. You have to check. That is very much true. But one of the exceptions says if you buy branded products, not required. You can come home, you can check later. That is the main exception they're giving. That is what the value of brand carries. It means it has to be good. Next. Question number 9 is done. 10.
Mrs. Elavasi has purchased mangoes from a nearby local supermarket. After going home, She found that all mangoes were spoiled and hence wanted to return the same. The supermarket, stating the principle of caveat emptor, says he was not liable. Comment.
So basically, what is happening? See, if anybody of you has gone for any fruits or vegetables purchase, or if you had gone to any vegetable supermarket or fruit supermarket, you would have seen there will be racks of fruits. Correct? There will be racks of fruits. You will pick what you want, and you will see. You will notice over there. Everybody will carefully examine good mango, good quality, and they will keep. Correct? So Ilavarsi had gone to supermarket, a nearby local supermarket, for purchasing the mangoes. She randomly picked some mangoes from what is there, and she kept in the thing, and she came home. Now, after going home, she's finding out that it is spoiled. She wants to return the same to the supermarket, stating the principles of caveat emptor. Sorry, the supermarket stating the principle of caveat emptor says he is not liable. So, answer: should he return or should he not return? Is he liable? Is the supermarket liable?
Supermarket is not liable, but he cannot return the goods also.
Correct. Supermarket is not liable. Even Leversi cannot return the goods because she should have carefully examined the mangoes. She should have carefully examined before purchasing. She should have checked. It's her responsible. Caveat emptor. That's why the word keyword here is, again you might tell, sir, supermarket is a brand. All this Waitrose is a big brand. How can you say that? That's why I use the word local supermarket to give you the thing that it is not belonging to a brand. Next, 10 is done. Question number 11. Anybody who has not read questions so far? Pratham or Kushi, Saumya or Reshu, anybody can read the question. Come on, guys.
Sir, shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Question number 11.
Kushi,
Mr.
go ahead.
Harshal had purchased a new Lenovo laptop from a nearby electronics store. After purchasing it, he opened the laptop to check and it was working well. After 15 days of usage, the laptop exploded because of a short circuit. Upon inquiry, it was found that the motherboard was 10 years old and it was replaced internally. The shopkeeper was guilty of such a fraudulent act. However, he claimed defense under the principle of caveat emptor. Comment.
So I'll just explain the question if it's not clear. Basically, Harshal had gone to a shop. Harshal had gone to a new nearby electronic shop. So in nearby stores also they sell it. He went there, he purchased laptop. He opened, he checked over there also, it was working perfectly, it was working. So he went home, then it exploded. Later, the motherboard was 10 years old. It was replaced internally by the shopkeeper itself. Now Harshal wants to sue the shopkeeper, but shopkeeper is saying caveat emptor. Buyer should have been careful. He examined also. It was all fine when he examined, so I cannot replace it. Is what he's saying. Answer. See, normally, guys, this will not happen practically because laptop generally when you purchase will have warranty. See, all these electronic products will have first 1 year or 6 months warranty. Assume there was no warranty. Just assume in this case there was no warranty, and this what happened. This is the issue. So what will happen? Will he succeed? Soumya says yes, he will succeed. Anybody else? Okay, the answer is yes, he will succeed because caveat emptor is applicable. But one of the exceptions to caveat emptor says in case of fraud or the seller is guilty of misconduct, even though it is purchased under a brand name Lenovo laptop from nearby electronic store, what did the shopkeeper do? He opened the laptop before selling it, changed the motherboard, replaced with an old motherboard, and he's selling it. Now, what is happening? If you see recently in news and all these online stores, lot of online stores where you buy electronic goods, sometimes you get old products. You will not know. Now, how will you know? Only if you open the laptop and check inside if it's new or not, you will know. Otherwise, you will not know. It can be some old motherboard also. So he got an old motherboard which exploded. Shopkeeper is guilty of fraud over here. See, upon inquiry, it was found that the motherboard was 10 years old and it was replaced internally. The shopkeeper was guilty of such a fraudulent act. That means what? He did it purposefully to earn more money. Therefore, it is guilty of fraud. Caveat emptor will not be applicable here. The shopkeeper is liable to Harshal. Harshal will succeed. Understood, guys? All of you. I hope you guys have understood. Next question. Question number 12. Let me itself read. Mr. A sold his car to his friend Mr. B. After 3 months, he had asked the possession of it back, claiming it was his car and he wants it back now. So basically, what is happening, guys? Let me brief it for you. A sold his car to B. Let's say both are good friends. Sold it to B. Let's say for any amount, 1 lakh, second-hand car. After 3 months, A is telling B, no, 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 my car is very emotional to me. I want the car back. Please give my car back. I will give you 1 lakh back to you. He's not saying give it for free. He's saying I'll give you 1 lakh back. Please give my car back to me. Will he succeed? Will A succeed? Let's say A was using this car for the last 10 years. Very emotional to him. Because he wanted funds, he sold it for 1 lakh. Now he wants the car back. Will he succeed, guys? Answer is no, because here the concept tested is concept of implied warranty. The very first point under implied warranty, warranty as to undisturbed possession. I hope you can see what I'm writing. Warranty as to undisturbed possession. Once you buy a good, you have possession to it and you have the right to keep possession. Seller cannot disturb your possession or any other party cannot disturb the possession. Very simple. This is the answer for question number 12. Last question, fairly simple. I just mentioned it because you should not skip these also. Differentiate between sale and hire purchase, differentiate between sale and bailment. Textbook questions, you should be able to write them. Very simple. Remember guys, in your main exam, expect at least minimum in the range of at least 1 to 3 questions. Difference questions. Don't skip difference questions. If you are from CBSE and if you have already studied business studies in school, then yeah, difference questions are easy. You have those bases. That's the same way you should write. Difference question as it is, write in your own words. Those basis points alone you remember, and then inside you can write on your own words. Concept, if you remember, that's it, you can cover. Very simple, guys. If you remember the concept between any two concepts, 3 difference questions points you can write. First, you can write the meaning of it or the definition for difference question. Second, you can write any rights, nature. There will be one very main crucial aspect of differentiation that you will be knowing through concept itself that you can write. And third point, if nothing else you know, also give an example. See, in textbook, none of the difference question has example, but you can give an example, your own practical simple example using A, B, X. You can give an example, that is also allowed. Then other points when you read in textbook, you will know. Very simple. Any doubts, guys? With this, we are done with questions. Those who are clear with the questions and have no doubts, it's okay. You can, if you want, you can leave the class. Others who have doubts, I'll take your doubts one by one. I'll sort them. Then we can close today's class. And before that, one second, others please stay. Tomorrow we still have unit 3 and 4. What we have left is unit 3 and 4 of Sale of Goods Act, and we have LLP Act. So most probably tomorrow at 6 p.m. Friday 6 p.m. I'll keep Sale of Goods Act unit 3 and 4. Is that okay, guys? Can you just type out?
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, so I'll send the video mostly tomorrow morning, but I'm just giving you time to go through in your textbook or notes. We'll have a similar session for question discussion tomorrow at 6 p.m. See, Harshal, Saturday I can do it, but Saturday is Puja day, so I don't know if many people will attend. So that's the thing. Same time, I'll let you know. I'll see and let you know because I need some time for. I'll upload the videos tomorrow morning. If not 6 o'clock, what time do you guys want it, guys? 5, 4?
So 5 p.m. So
Okay, 5 is also fine. 4, 5 is also fine. See, but the only reason why I made it 6, I can 4 is also fine for me, but I'll have the session. I will send the videos, basically unit 3 and unit 4 videos tomorrow morning, somewhere between 7 to 8 a.m. only. So you will have only 6 hours to watch the video. So is that okay? Because video might be for another 40 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes, both the videos. So that is the only thing. Okay.
yes, sir, that's fine.
That's fine. Okay. And then 4 or 5 is fine. I'll mention in the group. Now, any doubts? That's it. Any doubts? Anyone? I'll take up your doubts. If there's no doubts, I'll close. I'll give you 2 minutes. Anybody has a doubt can type or you can unmute and ask me a doubt. In unit 1 and unit 2 of Sale of Goods Act or anything else, Contract Act or whatever you covered till now, Partnership Act. Okay, looks like nobody has a doubt. Okay, yeah, there are doubts. And Ronak has doubt in encumbrance and Sakshi has doubt in question 7b. Let me finish 7b. It's a small thing, then I'll go to encumbrance. 7b says Ronak offered to sell 10,000 shares of Reliance to Komal. Very simple, Sakshi. What they're saying here is there are, see, essential of a contract of sale, there should be two parties. Are there two parties? Yes, Ronak and Komal. Are they selling goods? You have to check whether shares are goods. Read the definition of goods. It says goods includes every movable property other than actionable claim and money, but includes, first point, shares and stock. So it includes shares. Therefore, this is a contract of sale. I hope you understood that, Sakshi Kumari. Okay, next, encumbrance. Somebody has a road. Let me explain that. I'll just go to the white screen for that. Yeah, what is an encumbrance? I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you have a house. Let's say A has a house. Let's say this is house. Now A is having a house. He is selling this house to B. A is selling his house to B. Now what is happening when A is selling his house to B? A has taken this house on a loan. A has taken this house on a loan. Let's say from State Bank of India, he has taken 1 crore loan. And the property, what to say, when giving loan, bank won't give you loan for free, correct? You have to give some security. You have to give some security of an asset. So your house, see, I'm giving you an example of immovable property to explain the concept of encumbrance. It's applicable for both movable or immovable. When you're taking the loan, the papers of the house, what the original paper deed of the house, you have surrendered that to the bank. Obviously, he will give that to bank. What will happen if you are not able to repay the loan to bank? Who has the papers of the bank? Sorry, papers of the house. Bank has it. Bank can tomorrow sell this and recover the money. Meanwhile, what A has done, he has sold this house to B and B has purchased this house. B did not know that there was a loan already taken on this house. When the due date comes, A did not make the payment. So State Bank of India is asking at that time who's the owner of the house, B to make the payment. Will B make the payment? Obviously not, because B did not know there was a loan on the house. He purchased in good faith. So what will happen in practicality? Even if B pays to SBI, he can recover the money later from A. Encumbrance means this loan against the property is one encumbrance. Anything like a pledge against a property or a hypothecation or mortgage, all these will be encumbrances against the property. Free from encumbrance means there is no loan against this property, or this property or asset is not a security for any other debt which has been borrowed. I hope it is understood. Kriti, bin question number 8, 100 bags of wheat is ascertained good or not? See, in this question it is unascertained goods. They have not mentioned. Only if you take and keep it separately, then it becomes ascertained goods. Let me explain the difference of ascertained and unascertained guys one more time. It's a little important also for exam. See, I'll give you a practical example. Mostly you see vegetable vendors coming to your house or fruit vendors coming to your house and selling fruits and vegetable. Let's say a fruits guy has come to your house. He has a basket of fruits. Let's say he has 100 apples in this basket and he has 50 oranges in the basket. Now he comes to your house. You selected already 10 apples that you want to buy. Then suddenly you got a call. You told him you want to buy 5 oranges also, but you will buy, but give me 10 minutes. I'll buy in 10 minutes because I have a call. Then the fruit vendor is saying, okay, madam, or okay, sir, I will sell to you, but let me go to next house and come back. In this 10 minutes, I can sell in one more house also. You are also saying, okay, go there and come back. But you told him these 10 apples, what is selected, keep it separately in the basket. Don't sell to anybody else. So he also kept it separately in the basket and did not sell to anybody else. So these 100 apples and 50 apples, the bulk, it is unascertained goods before it is selected and kept aside either by you or the seller. The 10 apples which he kept separately, which you are going to buy later, that 10 apples become the ascertained goods. So from the bulk, if some goods are kept separately, which will be sold to a specific person later at any point of time, whether it is after 10 minutes or after 10 days, that goods which are kept separately is called ascertained goods. I hope you guys have understood the concept, ascertained and unascertained goods. Understood, guys? Any other doubts? I'll just wait for 30 seconds. If I don't get any doubt, then I'll close for the day. You can type your doubt or you can unmute and ask. Okay, looks like there's no doubt. No worries. Thank you, guys. We'll again meet tomorrow. See you all in tomorrow's class.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys.